1,761 people will lose their jobs in Amarillo today, and Washington wants you fighting culture wars instead. Tyson is laying off 1,761 employees at the Amarillo plant, not because the workers failed, not because ranchers failed, but because cattle numbers are at historic lows and the beef industry is projected to lose $600 million. This did not happen overnight. This is what happens when policy ignores production, when consolidation crushes the competition, and when rural America is treated like collateral damage. Farmers are squeezed, workers are disposable, communities are left holding the bag. And while families here in this district are figuring out how to pay rent, buy groceries, and keep the lights on, Washington keeps pretending that this is normal.
These rural Americans in this clip voted for Donald Trump, and now they cannot afford to eat. He promised he was going to make these people's lives better and fix all of the problems they are facing. However, he has done the exact opposite. Everything has gotten worse.
How big of a problem hunger is in rural America? Spend time at a mobile food bank.
It's 90% of what I consume. And I don't keep the car running. I can't afford the gas, so I have sleeping bags to stay warm.
I still feel bad that I have to come up here and sit in a line, to get food. It's embarrassing as hell.
While Americans are struggling to afford gas, food, and rent, Trump has found time to do just about everything else except for his job, including giving $40 billion to Argentina. He's also found the time to demand $230 million in taxpayer money for himself. And of course, he's got plenty of time to destroy the entire east wing of the White House and replace it with a ballroom that's modeled after one of Putin's palaces. But he can't find the time or compassion to reopen the government or extend ACA tax credits that many of his rural supporters rely on to survive. This is what happens when leadership becomes a vanity project.
Now, across many red states, MAGA voters are waking up to painful reality. The healthcare cuts they supported or ignored are now hurting them the most. What once sounded like, political talk on TV has turned into real life suffering. Hospitals are closing, insurance costs are rising, access to doctors is shrinking, and many people feel abandoned. And for years, they have believed the whole promise: we're going to fix healthcare. We will take away or repair Obamacare and give you guys, concept of a plan. But somehow their concept of a plan is not concepting. Like, they don't even get what the concept of a plan is right now. So it's freaking them the hell out, because they would have just continued managing their Obamacare or whatever. And now healthcare premiums are up. A lot of them can no longer afford it. Well, let's take a look at these videos and I'll come back with more commentary. Credit belongs to original creators of these videos. Do well to like and subscribe. Let's go watch.
The people of Minnesota have gone on strike in protest of what ICE is doing to their state. This is the biggest economic protest in recent history. And businesses are shutting down as a result, but still paying their employees. The Trump administration has massively underestimated the people of Minnesota. In fact, it's about negative 45 degrees there with the wind chill, and there are thousands and thousands of people out protesting. This is what it looks like not to accept this. This is what it looks like to actually fight back. Having a giant economic protest is a big deal. The people of Minnesota are making their voices heard. And they are not allowing these degenerate ICE agents to wreak as much havoc in their community. They are standing up to it. And we might all need to take a lesson and pay attention to what they're doing.
Just put some real numbers on it. So right now, if a farmer calls me up and says, "Hey, Jason, I've got 50,000 bushels. I need to sell you. What's the best you can do for me?" Well, right now, I'm hovering right above $5. And a lot of these farmers tell me that their cost of production is not too far off from $7 per bushel. We're nearly $2 per bushel below the cost of production when you factor in the cost of machinery, the cost of maintenance, the cost of labor, the cost of inputs like fertilizer, herbicides, pesticides, things like this that the farmer uses every single year to keep their crop in condition. The United States has a high quality bushel. The only way to keep it that way is to use these modern practices that we use, which require a lot of liquid capital to execute. It's become quite scary, because if you think about our neighbors to the north and south, like look at Mexico, they're the number one buyer of U.S. corn, okay? They're the number 3 buyer of U.S. wheat, all right? Canada has an extremely aggressive program where they export durum, mostly through their Thunder Bay program to the east, through the St. Lawrence Seaway. And I'm sure they do some of the West Coast as well. But either way, it's a market that's very well developed. There's a lot of expertise. And they also have the biggest canola program in the world, which is a very popular crop out here in eastern Montana, especially this year. Just driving around Roosevelt County, you see a lot more canola out there this year than last year.
So I'm here in Publix doing some grocery shopping, and I found out that the Secretary of the Department of Agriculture, right now under the Trump administration, Brooke Rollins, says that the average American can currently get a great meal, like to feed themselves on a daily basis, for just $3 a day.
We've run over 1,000 simulations. It can cost around $3 a meal for a piece of chicken, a piece of broccoli, corn tortilla, and one other thing. And so there is a way to do this that actually will save the average American consumer money.
So I came by because I want to test that theory and see if that's really possible under this economy. Starting off with the chicken breast, $7.48 for 2 pieces. The budget that this lady was talking about, already gone. Just look at how expensive, $16.17. Expensive chicken, guys. This is already off the charts for whatever this lady was talking about. The tortillas, $1.85, the cheapest pack of 24. You guys do the math. The chicken gizzards, $3.59. Also over the budget that Roland's was talking about. See, we got the sirloin, $13.67, $12.57, all that. We also got the broccoli. It is $2.99. Obviously, all this is without taxes, right? Also just went through the fruits, since you said you could buy something else. 3 limes for $1, 4 for $5. Pears. Look at those prices, guys. Like, I don't know in what world these people live in where they think that they can just lie to the American public and we're just going to believe them. Like, yeah, everything's so cheap. Prices are going down. Thanks, Donald Trump. We got the onions. Also, just look at those prices, guys. Like $1.49 a pound. Like, no, things are not cheap. Inflation is rising, right? They don't even account for using your light, your power, right? All the different seasonings, salt, pepper, all that stuff that goes into cooking, right? A pack of rice, $1.29, the cheapest one. I think we can all agree that Roland's is not aware of the reality of the average American in this economy. The Trump economy has been a failure. You cannot get a well-balanced meal for just $3. Buy a sole piece of chicken, a sole piece of broccoli, a tortilla, and she still went on to say something else. Descarada, thinking that you can get something else, 4 things, with just $3. That an average American can eat with $9 a day. That is a lie. The Trump economy is a failure. His economic policies are a failure. And we are all suffering in this country for it.
To think that most of the people or most of the states that are facing some of this are red states. And you all know that most red states are rural America. Rural areas depend heavily on Medicaid, affordable health care, like Affordable Care Act subsidies, and federal, health care funding. When these were cut or weakened, the damage hit immediately. Clinics shut down, hospitals laid off staff or closed completely. People lost coverage overnight, and a lot of them have to pay out of pocket. So it's freaking them out. In many towns, the local hospitals was the biggest employer. When it closed, or when it closes, the whole town suffers, right? Job disappears, emergency care vanishes, pregnant women had to drive hours to deliver their babies, elderly patients skipped treatment because they couldn't afford them. MAGA voters are shocked because they never thought it would affect them. Many believed healthcare cuts were aimed at immigrants, cuts, city people or blue states. But healthcare doesn't work that way. When funding is reduced, it hits wherever the need is, highest. And red states have some of the highest rates of poverty and, of course, disability and aging population. The truth is certain and very much uncomfortable. Red states rely more on federal healthcare support than blue state does. And that's why when the talk about not funding blue states came about, a lot of people said then blue states should stop funding red states. Okay, now this one said, now insurance premiums are rising, deductibles are higher, coverage is thinner, people are delaying care until it becomes an emergency. That costs more money and more lives. And rural MAGA voters are especially devastated. In small towns, there are fewer doctors and fewer options. When one clinic closes, there is nowhere else to go. Okay, and of course, telehealth doesn't help. If internet access is poor, private insurance is too expensive for many families. People are now choosing between medicine and, of course, groceries. The anger is, growing, but it's mixed with confusion. Some voters are furious at Democrats, some blame hospitals, some blame immigrants. Of course, the whole blame. But slowly, quietly, many are realizing that the policies they supported are the reason the healthcare is disappearing. The realization hurts. Healthcare cuts also affect veterans, disabled workers, and of course seniors groups that strongly supported Trump. Cuts to funding mean longer wait times, fewer specialists, and of course reduced services. These are not luxuries, these are lifelines. And the most painful part is a sense of betrayal. MAGA voters are promised protection, they are promised strength, they are promised that Trump would fight for them, real Americans. Instead, corporate interests and tax cuts for the wealthy were prioritized, while healthcare for working people was treated as expandable. Of course, when people get sick, policies doesn't matter, and illness doesn't care who you all voted for. Now, town halls in red states are tense. People are yelling at local officials, and families are organizing fundraisers just to, afford surgeries. Churches are stepping in where the government pulled out, and communities are trying to survive with less and less support. And some voters are finally speaking out. Others are doubling down, refusing to admit they were wrong. Pride keeps many of them silent, but the devastation is visible. Hospitals don't close quietly. Lives don't fall apart quietly. Trump's healthcare cuts didn't just, hurt political opponents. They cut into the, heart of red America, and they expose how fragile rural healthcare really is. And they showed that cheering for policy without understanding it can have deadly consequences. This isn't about left or right anymore. It's about survival. Okay. MAGA voters are learning the hard way that healthcare is not a culture war issue; it's a human issue. And when it's taken away, everyone pays the price, especially those who defended on it and who depended on it the most, and which we all know who. And now they all are all on the internet crying out about how they have to pay out of pocket, and the cost of healthcare is so much for a lot of them. Well, guys, let me know what you all think in the comments. I would really love to read from you guys. Please do what to like and subscribe, and credit belongs to original creators of these videos. I look forward to seeing you all next. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. See you all on my next video. Bye, guys.